It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here with my co-host, Mr. Barnet Bain.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. Let me just cough a little bit.
Yeah, go cough.
I have to wait till I'm on air for that.
Go cough. Go cough a little bit.
Just get that on air. I just like to
That's fantastic.
share. I'm a sharer.
You are a sharer.
So it's good to see you. Good morning, Spence, crack engineer.
Crack engineer with us
and
today.
Producer, yeah. How are you?
You know, I'm doing well.
Really?
I've
Good
got
to hear that.
all my trailing bits are with me today.
I see. It's like walking. It's like working with a Shriners convention.
Yeah, there's
here.
all
Can
bunch
you keep
of
them all outside in the green room.
No, they all come along at all times. That's what I'm acutely aware of these days.
And how are they behaving?
You know,
Who's in charge?
I don't know. I like to think that I'm the bigger I am in charge,
Nice.
but that isn't always
What you're
the case.
hearing from the back seat.
You know, not that much today.
Mm-hmm.
Had a day recently we talked where there was some backseat
Little
drivers.
noise.
Yeah,
Little
little noise, little chatter from the cheering folks back there wanting to pipe in and have their 2 cents. But
I had a huge one a couple days ago.
did you?
A huge one. I'm involved in a project, and one of the people that I've been collaborating with has been having other challenges and has been very distracted. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is not working out well. And I went in for a brief period. I went into the blame, and this is what's going on, and this is what's going on, and if only, and then suddenly I stopped, and I thought, this is a function of resonance completely. And this is all me. The only thing that's consistent from this event to a whole series of events in the past, the only common denominator is me.
Yeah.
And I felt a sense of compassion and caring, and I actually went as far as to love that whole experience instead of going to war with it. And within 12 hours, the whole thing had cleared up and just moved along again. And I thought, wow, this is a real
years.
show and tell in the integration.
Yeah.
Game.
It beats 12 years or
It
12
built-
months
or 12
days.
or 12, yeah.
Yeah. No, and sometimes it's 12 minutes. I mean, you know,
Sometimes it's 14 billion years of evolution.
that is absolutely right. But look, the ownership of what's showing up in my experience and how do I want to be with what's showing up in my experience is sort of the critical question.
Well, one of the things that we want to be
Yeah.
is we want to be in conversation with a really dear friend of both of ours and of the show,
Yeah.
who is on the line today and regrets that she is not here in person in the studio. But that
We regret that as well.
We regret that as well.
But there's always another day, so
and
yeah.
we forgive her.
I totally forgive her for
We
that.
forgive her by a show of hands. Do we forgive her?
That's right. Oh.
All right, she's forgiven.
Spence, hand up. Oh, there we go. We got the
Yeah,
engineer.
the whole everybody here is
It's totally
forgiven. It's the past. Don't worry about it. So we want
that's
to
funny.
welcome to the program the Reverend Aliah MaJon, who is the originator of soul technology.
Yeah.
Aliah has had a desire to understand who she was and her relationship to her soul since the death of her only child, and I think she'll talk a little bit about that. Became a life-changing experience for her, and she has a lot to share with us. So we welcome you with us here today.
Aliah,
I don't
you
hear
there?
you.
I don't know.
Whoa, how about this for real life radio?
Real life
So
radio.
while our crack team here finds her, we will pretend to Freeman
I
who.
got confused. I thought you were talking to someone else.
Oh.
Wow! Well, again, by show of hands, everybody forgive her? Again, another pass.
Please.
It's so good to have you with us today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing just incredibly today. How is everybody over there?
Let's
Good.
see.
We're doing really
No,
well.
we're good. So, welcome, and we wanted you to set up for our audience a little bit of the backstory of how you came to do this incredible work that you're doing.
All right.
What happened in 30 seconds or less?
30 seconds or less.
Well, it can be longer.
No,
than
it can
30
be 40 seconds.
See, we're also very generous. Besides being very forgiving, we're very generous. Hi, Aliah.
Well,
it's
if you
Freeman,
want
by the
to
way.
really-
How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Good.
Here's the juicy piece that I'd like to share. First of all, for my entire life, I've been fascinated, felt compelled to understand the deeper meaning of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like everybody else, I went upon the quest of discovering all kinds of things. But the thing that really brought it to this place of crystal clear understanding was what we would typically call a tragedy. I lost my only child, my son Sean, to suicide on July 2nd, 1994. And Sean and I were very close. When he was small, I taught him to meditate. We talked about God, what happens after death, and stuff like that. And so even though I didn't believe in the old fire and brimstone ideas that people would burn in hell for sure if they committed suicide, I was concerned, that my son had found the light, so to speak. And so I went upon this journey of trying to reach him the day after his death, and succeeded for a very brief time, and just sort of had a heart communication. I just felt that I knew. I didn't hear anything telepathically like I did later, but that he was okay. And then his funeral happened, and I went back to California. He lived in Michigan. And the second day that I was home and settled into my old life, so to speak, after my meditation, which I've been doing for the last 30-plus years every morning, he came. He literally popped into my meditation. And we began to have a telepathic communication that lasted for about an hour or so the first time, and went through some really powerful exchanges between the two of us about what had happened and why.
Wow.
And then the next morning, the same thing happened, and it literally happened every consecutive day for about 39, 40 days after that second day of being back at home in California. So it was about July 9th or so. And boy, did we go through some powerful things that first were about him, and then about me, and then about the soul, and so on and so forth. But that's my longer than 30-second answer, but that's the true juicy part.
That's amazing. You always 2.4 minutes, but
Yeah, that's
we're
all right.
banking that.
I want to say something. First of all, I think that, how you chose to move into relationship with this experience is a testament to your path, obviously. That this was not something, lots of people experience something similar to what you've experienced, and they don't move into the kind of relationship that you did. So that's sort of the first thing I want to note, because and for people who listen to this show, they know that Barnet and I talk about this a lot, is that what shows up in our experience, and we even alluded to this in the introduction, and how we choose to be in a relationship with that is in fact determines in large part what the end result is. We don't aim for an end result, but we move into a relationship in a particular way that invites in a kind of discovery process about ourselves, and then maybe even a deeper understanding of perhaps why we're here. So that piece to me is really a beautiful stage setter, if you will, for the generosity of the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's never been quite that way, but thank you. Really,
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much.
Well, again, it's one of those things when something appears in our experience, to be able to accept it and to be able to move into relationship with it changes what it is, versus simply reacting to it and judging it and denying it and pushing it away, or quickly categorizing it, not letting these deep experiences be our teacher, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to say something about that, if
Please.
I could. So when I found out about my son's death, I happened to be at a conference, and everybody around me was right there for me. I mean, my entire hotel room filled up with people. They were with me for hours. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I was notified until about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I finally went off to sleep about 4 o'clock in the morning, and when I woke up only about 2.5 hours later, I was in a state of mind that was accepting. And that state of mind was, well, I would never have wanted this to happen, but it has. And so now here I am. This is the first day of living life without my son. What am I going to do about that? And I started to think about what was most important to me. And, of course, I made the decision that what was most important to me is to make sure, because I knew he was still in existence somewhere without his body, to make sure that he was okay. I'm still mothering. But the acceptance is what I wanted to really just touch upon, because what happens when we have the most difficult time in life, when we really are thrown for a loop and we become those folks that need help for years and years and years after an event has taken place, it's because we have not ever accepted, we haven't embraced the reality of what's happened, oftentimes. The truth of it. This is what's going on, and this is what I have to deal with.
Well, oftentimes we become mired in certain emotional energies that and we do that. It's understandable. We do it in order to anesthetize ourselves from pain and from grief. But what I'm hearing from your story is that you had the courage to experience your grief without anesthetizing and without without using the anesthetics of self-pity or blame or judgment or control. And we use those energies that are as anesthetics in order to prevent us from feeling grief.
Yeah.
And you allowed yourself, you had the courage. I don't know that I would like to think that I have that courage, and I am grateful that I have not been tested in that way. I don't know that I have that courage. But I do understand that these are energies that anesthetize ourselves from connecting with what is greater than us and what is grander, not more than, not better than, just firing on more cylinders, aspects of ourselves that are more in touch. And so you move through this and made yourself available to more of who you are,
and it became the platform of what
of all your work, of all your work. So, which is as good a segue as any for us to ask you to share a little bit with our listeners about what occurred for you and what happened to you. What did you learn about yourself as a result of this?
Okay. Well, my goodness, that is a fantastic question. I don't even know exactly where to start, but here's what I want to say. Excuse me. So
we all get to cough one time on air.
Only
and now the three of us are maxed out.
We're all tapped out.
Very good. Thank you. I'm glad that I have that quota. Where I want to start is this. My first question, after wanting to know from Sean, why did you make that choice to use this gun to do this thing that you did to yourself? Is, so what are you experiencing now? Who are you with? What are you talking about? I didn't necessarily use the word talking, but, what's happening there on that side? And we've heard about life reviews. I mean, people that have had near-death experiences talk about that all the time. And so I was curious about the life review of someone who committed suicide. What I learned, first off, is that the life review is no different. It's always the same, meaning that you have to glean from your life that you just left what it is that you should have learned, what it is that you would now like to learn, from the experience that perhaps you just had, and so on and so forth. But what I learned is that everything has a meaning, that everything is significant, that there is no escape, that, for example, you would like, for example, Sean wanted to anesthetize himself from his misery. He thought that if he took his own life, that he would not have that misery be with him on the other side. It's not in the same way, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest lesson that I learned was that you have to be courageous, you have to be empowered, you have to be a master of your own fate, your own life, your own way of moving forward, because you're going to have to do that no matter what. Yeah. That there is no place you can hide. There is nothing that you can do.
There's no out there.
There is no out there.
And in fact, the energies and the quality in the experience of grief is an opening at the end of the day. That's what I get from your work, and yeah, that this is the I mean, people open in lots of different ways, and yet the grief has been a real opening opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's your heart breaks open, but also your relationship to yourself is right there in your face. Your relationship with others, your relationship with what you consider God or a higher power, it's all right there in your face when you experience something like I went through. And so I had to take those opportunities of what was there before me and use them in a way that was going to, shall I say, grow myself. I really wanted to be okay on the other side of this.
Right.
And so it was my determined, focused, committed desire to myself to figure out how I could become okay again.
Well, and to move into a place of what gift you have to give based on that process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we, as it happens, all four of us share a friend in Cynthia Kersey. And Cyn always says that when the size of our service exceeds the depth of our pain, everything changes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
The pain takes on a manageable perspective, and the whole thing is lifted to a entirely different octave of appreciation and gratitude and contribution and community. And that's clearly what has gone on in your life. Mm-hmm. And how is that playing out right now?
Well, how it's playing out right now is that I am actually working with individuals, which I've been doing for years now, for the last 17 years. My son died 18 years ago. But I'm beginning to take this information that I call soul technology and experiment with bringing it into a corporate arena, for example, when people are seeking to step into leadership roles or working with each other in a team setting. It is everywhere with me. I am also working with people that are transitioning to the other side, so I'm doing a little bit of work in hospice. And, you know, the thing which is interesting, it's like I have many hats, and I have found over the last 15 years, since I've really become completely enmeshed in what it is that I'm up to, that there is no place where I need to leave behind what it is that I have learned.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so it's everywhere.
No part of us is ever left behind, and no part of us can be left behind. But so you are now working with people and facilitating them to, as a coach.
I'm working with people as a coach.
And
I call it a mentor, actually.
As a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And is there a particular specialty to this work? Is it focused around personal evolution and transformation? Is it focused around
grief,
dealing with grief and resolving old issues?
It's focused around people that know that they're the leaders of a new world. It's focused around those who are, for example, we're in 2012, and everybody's heard 2012 as being, you know, the date that we've been waiting for the start of the golden age, so to speak. But what's happening for this transitional time that we're in on Earth is that we have to step into our greatest empowerment. What is it that we're going to offer? What is our contribution to literally change this world from the inside out and up and down and side to side or whatever it is that needs to happen in every arena? And so those leaders, those trendsetters, those pioneers, those ones that are definitely out of the box, but not just out of the box, they're really thinking intelligently about what is it that will improve our greatest problems. Those are the people that I'm working with now. Those are the leaders. Those are folks like yourself, the two of you on the phone, those who have shows, those who are making statements, those who are actually creating films. There is no, as I said, no arena where this doesn't apply, because what we're talking about is like who you really are and what you're really doing here. What does your life really mean? So may I go into that, or shall I?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
We're here.
All right, think about this. So we all know that we're souls, and from an old point of view, from some of the older teachings, when I say an old point of view, we think that the soul comes into play after we die. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, right, so the soul's going to go to heaven, or wherever it is that the soul goes. Well, the truth is that we, and many of us know this intellectually, we are always souls, not just after we pass over and leave the bodies that we've just left behind. We were souls before we got into those bodies, from my point of view at least, I should say, and we are constantly and forever and eternally going to be that. And what is the journey of the soul? What is its nature? Its nature is constant evolution on a personal level and on a collective level. So everything that has improved, like if we look at our world, the history of the world, for example, and we say this is what happened in this civilization, and this is what happened 100 years ago, and this is what happened in the 20th century, and this is what's taken place so far in the 21st century, we historically mark those evolutionary things that have unfolded in our lives daily, weekly, monthly, and then they accumulate, and we think about the different epochs and ages that we've been through. That's all the work of the soul. That has all happened from individuals like me, like the two of you, and like everyone who's going to be listening to this, who's made a contribution of improvement, small, medium, or large, or enormous. Sometimes we have names of people that have made significant contributions to our evolution, and sometimes, most times, we don't. But everything comes from an individual actually unfolding their soul's mission or purpose for being alive. And that's what we talk about when I'm talking to leaders. What's your purpose for being alive? Do you know it? What are you doing with it? What's it look like? How many ways can you express it? And so on and so forth. And I'll stop there. But that's kind of what I really want to get out, that we're looking at really why were we born, and what are we going to do with this opportunity for ourselves, for those we love, and for the entire creation.
It's interesting because that, again, goes back to the sort of first piece that I recognized in the way that you approached the event of Sean's death, and moving very quickly into a kind of acceptance. And I think that Barnet echoed that when he talked about how the desire to control it versus allow it. I think of it as like a current, and that there are these currents that take us on our journey, and that it's evolutionary, and it's there's these stages as individuals and collectively that we go through. I think that's a beautiful way of framing it, and I'm really grateful that you came on today and spent some time with us sharing your experience, your personal experience, and then also what you're contributing to the world. Before we let you go, can you tell us the website where folks can get to more of your stuff?
Absolutely. Very simple. It's Soul, S-O-U-L, technology, all one word, .info, soultechnology.info. And also I do a special introductory kind of talk to Aliah teleclass once a month. It's the beginning of the month, the first Thursday of the month. And that URL is soultechnology.info/teleclass.htm. where you sign up to do that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Aliah. And it's great to talk to you again. I haven't seen you since 11/11. We spent that together. It was beautiful to spend some time with you. And I look forward to seeing you again. We'd love to, of course, have you in studio. So please plan to come back and join us again.
Great to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
And those of you listening, we will be right back. So stay with us here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.